There's way too many good vehicles on Cars and Bids right now, so let's go on here, place some bids, be a little reckless with all my YouTube earnings, and see what we can find. First off, if I had the budget, oh my gosh. What a spec for a Cayman GT4. This is a 2016, so it's the original generation. It's got the full bucket seats, and look how nice these photos are. Like, if you're looking at this and you're not minorly aroused, then you're in the wrong video. My gosh, what a machine. 29 minutes left in the auction, $92,000 high bid. It's a little bit out of the price range. We're not gonna be that reckless today. Next option is far more affordable, but I think this thing is way too close to stock. 5-speed NB Miata. Got kind of a basic roll bar, but it's nothing that great. I mean, we don't have any double diagonals. I don't think that's a whole lot of actual protection, but yeah, the roll bar has some protection there. But yeah, Cosi racing wheels. Header, radiator, some basic suspension mods, which you're going to need at this point because the car is 24 years old. Miata is not the answer for me right now. My gosh, what is this thing doing here? Wow, if we were in the market for an automatic Aston Martin, look how ridiculously good looking that thing is. If you want something that's going to look the best and sound the best, that's the answer. Still 6 days left, so we have no idea what it's going to go for, but my God. And then there's this thing. This car that's selling locally. I'm in Arizona. This thing's selling out of Scottsdale. It looks pretty rough. Sort of like a base Carrera that was turned into a wannabe GT3 clone sort of kind of thing. Oh, and a giant hole for some reason, just in the back of the car somewhere. That's cool. A few dents, bit of wear and tear here and there. Got some quite old looking Corbeau racing seats, race equipped 4-point harnesses. Yeah, 4 points. Some ear protection there, ready to go. It must be loud. 121,000 miles. This thing's been around the block. It looks like the back of the car is gutted. Yeah, look at that. There's like nothing back there. I mean, that considerably increases the volume level of a car too. And it's got a roll bar. So this is a gamble, this kind of car. Because maybe it's a Porsche, and maybe the guy's driven it really easy for the last 5 years. But at the same time, it's a Porsche. So if one major thing goes wrong, it's basically totaled. Full disclosure here, I had bid on this car. $71.50 was my bid right here. And then 19 hours ago, the bid was up to $74.50, and this guy comes in and drops a bomb of 15 grand. He basically doubles the bids. I think he's bought a car. Good luck to you, sir. Got a beautiful yellow 911 turbo, 996 generation. You gotta love that. Of course, the MK4 Supra. That's too much money for me, but they are awesome. A 2006 Saleen Mustang Extreme, the one with the built engine, 580 horsepower, a monster from the early 2000s. I also had bid on that early on. And check this thing out. I think that this could be the sleeper of the whole auction today. This is a Zenos E10S. So imagine this. Some of the people that worked on the Caterham cars in the UK went off, started their own company. They took the drivetrain out of a Ford Focus ST. So it's a 4-cylinder turbo, 250 horsepower. They dropped that into this body, which is like an aluminum T-frame, like a spine of aluminum down the middle. And it just gets crazier from there because there's no roof, there's no doors, there's inboard suspension, so you've got full A-arms with the crazy inboard shocks like you would find in like a Formula car. And the thing weighs something like 750 kilos, so it's like 1,500 pounds. Oh, there is somewhat of a roof. Look at that little fabric guy. And these are such a quirky thing because it's super minimal inside. You've got a couple of screens. You've got these like plastic, whatever, Kevlar seats, whatever they are, that are just plastic buckets, and basically nothing else. These came out like 8 or 10 years ago. They sold a bunch of them. And then I don't know if they're even still making them. I don't think they are. But as like a compelling car that's legitimately fast with what's got to be super low running costs, this is amazing. You've got a Ford drivetrain, so that's pretty easy to source and service and all that stuff. And then as long as you don't bump it into a wall, then I would think everything else would hopefully last. I just think it's so cool. If I had a spare 25 grand, I'd be all over it. All right, let's keep hunting. What else is appealing? Little C5 Z06, bright yellow, fairly compelling. Probably the strangest Toyota Cressida I've ever seen in my life. There's something going on there. Whatever it is, I don't trust it. And then this delicious little Ford Focus RS, only 27,500 miles, tasteful modifications, coilovers, tune, exhaust, fairly basic stuff. And of course, it's going to go for more than $9,100. But I'm currently the high bidder on it. So hopefully everyone forgets about it and I buy the thing for cheap. A monster of a ZL1 1LE that's modified, makes basically 700 wheel horsepower. Whew, that car's a beast. And then basically every other car as we scroll down here is really compelling. Well, except for the Subaru Outback. Look at this, an ND1 Miata, got some nice modifications on it. Beautiful color spec. It's got the Brembo and BBS package on it, so it looks nice. It's going to stop nice. 36,000 miles. Let's see what the modifications are. Oh, less than I thought. Front sway bar, a hard dog roll bar, brake pads, little aesthetic stuff here and there. That's it. If this car was turbocharged or supercharged, it would be extremely compelling. Based on my surveying of these kind of auction sites, whenever you turbocharge or supercharge a car like this, you don't get the full value of it back. So you might spend like 8 grand doing it, and the car might only sell for like 2 grand more because of it. And so it's actually a great value if you're the person buying it secondhand. Top's in great shape. This thing's in great shape. I still don't know if I can fit in an NB Miata though. I've got to drive one of these first. For now, the Miata's off the table. But look at this obscenely gorgeous bright yellow C6 Z06. I think these things are going to go down in history as one of the great value cars out there. Granted, it's a Corvette inside. I mean, look at this. Super cheapo, plush, weird, cushy, donut, bubbly seats, cheap plastic everything. That shifter looks like it's not made super well, but what an iconic set of gauges right there. Oh, just love that they're all analog. I've watched so many acceleration videos of C6s. You can just see those needles sweeping around. But what an iconic shape and what a beautiful looking thing from the outside. Inside, not so much, but whenever you walk away from it, I'm sure it's just an absolute beast to drive. 500 horsepower, 7-liter, manual transmission. I mean, what a formula. And only 23,000 miles to boot. My gosh. 6 days left. I think the car's going to go for 40. That's my bet. And then there's this little beauty. What a nice spec this is. M235i, so it's got a turbocharged straight 6, 3-liter. This one's a manual, thankfully. And to me, it's kind of like a poor man's M2 because this is going to sell for a lot less than an M2. I mean, even first-gen M2s are mid to high 30s at least. You get into an M2 comp or something like that, you're talking about 50 grand. I'll bet this car sells for closer to 20. And you've got to be 80% of the way to an M2, I would hope. These have suddenly become particularly interesting to me because this is really similar to the kind of car that I'm going to drive at the Nürburgring in a little while. I made a video about that if you want to watch that after this. It's got some 2-piston brakes that look tasty. And then check out this interior. I feel like this is such a nice mix of like simple analog, but also updated enough to where you're not annoyed by it. Nice brown leather, so it's kind of interesting when you step inside because otherwise it's just some gray car. But then you open the door and you're like, oh, look at this reddish brownish leather. That is cool. Little M Performance shift knob. Again, timeless gauges. Are there any gauges more timeless than that? My gosh. Nice seat adjustment available. That makes your life easy. Potentially enough room in the back to put a friend or maybe a child. So there's some functionality there, and I'm sure you could fold those seats down. Looks like they've been indented because somebody's folded them down for so long. But overall, what a great package. Let's place a bid. I'd pay 10 grand for this car. I know it's not like the best bid strategy to just go in there and bid whatever you think you'd pay, but what we're doing. And then check out this little guy. Casual R33 Nissan GTR. Initially, this was like my least favorite GTR by a mile, just visually, because it was sort of that like awkward middle child between the R32 and the R34, and it's like, who wants this? Of all styles, why would you pick this? Why wouldn't you just jump all the way to the R34 if you want the big, muscular, like boxy kind of 90s vibe, or go back to the R32 if you want something a little bit more classic and narrow and understated? This is just, it's like lukewarm. But honestly, the more I see them, the more I like them. You've got this big, chunky, aggressive front end. It's got like some real presence to it. And then you go to the back end and it's like narrow and sleek and 90s, and it looks like it's got low drag and it looks like it's kind of tapering back. I just think they're brilliant looking cars. Of course, it's right-hand drive, so it'd be awkward to shift with your left hand, but I'm sure you can get used to it. Very 90s-ish Nismo red seats, only a 5-speed transmission. And I don't know enough about these to be able to claim, you know, what's original here and what's been modified, but another iconic dash, iconic gauges. I mean, look at that speedometer. It's going to wrap around 270 degrees almost to get to 320 kilometers per hour. We've got some mystery switches here. Who knows what those were wired up for? Probably something dubious. The iconic RB26 straight 6 turbocharged engine makes such a nice sound. Unsurprisingly, the list of modifications is pretty huge. A decent amount of engine stuff, but nothing too serious. I mean, no bigger turbos, nothing that's opened up the actual engine itself. So it should be as reliable as you could hope a basically 30-year-old car could be. Some basic suspension modifications. Oh yeah, those seats look like they're aftermarket upholstery, and they are. And a nice, honest list of known flaws too. Unsurprisingly, the high bid was $420 so far. That would be so fun. It'd be such a throwback to get in that car and start it up and just go for a drive. Not necessarily my top pick, but it's an awesome option. Then of course we got another little Miata option. These are just so cheap and light and modifiable and easy to maintain and all the jazz. This one's got some nice RPF ones and some basic mods. Wheel hubs, coilovers, brake pads, door bushings, and those wheels, that's about it. Another spicy, interesting interior. Looks like the seat has been abused a bit, but you know, that's what happens when it's been driven for 117,000 miles. I feel like as a decently maintained kind of weekend track car, this could be a lot of fun. And then there's this little beauty. My goodness, what is happening? Why are there so many good cars all at once? Beautiful blue Cayman. I haven't looked at this car before, but it looks like aftermarket wheels. Looks like it's been lowered. Ugh, what a perfect shape. Look at that. The rear 3/4. You got the nice flat 6. This is the S, so you got an extra bit of horsepower. I think these are like 320 horsepower, right? Oh yeah. BBS wheels. Gorgeous. What a great choice for this car. Size looks nice. Huge letdown of an interior spec though. That's like the most boring gray interior you could ever have in any car, let alone a Porsche. And again, oh, these gauges. I love an analog gauge. Giant centrally mounted rev counter. Doesn't even think about redline till 7,000. Probably rev far beyond that. Ridiculously good looking. That center infotainment system definitely looks a bit out of date, but that's not why you buy this kind of car. You buy it because you love driving. Okay, let's see what kind of modifications and things are done to it, what the mileage is, see what kind of a deal this could be. This was only just listed, so it's not going to expire for 7 more days. Just under 57,000 miles. Oh, I was overestimating the power a little bit. 295 horsepower, 251 pound-feet. So this car has an ECU tune. It's got an intake plenum and GT3 throttle body, which if I ever had one of these cars, I would want that too. That just seems like a great modification for power and for response. An exhaust system, lowering springs. That's a little disappointing, which means those stock dampers have got to be super tired. Short shifter kit. Generally approve of all that stuff except for the springs. BBS wheels, nice. Wheel spacers, that's probably what helps it to look right too. LED headlights, clear side markers, paint protection film. Oh, and they actually replaced that head unit. I couldn't tell that was an Apple CarPlay head unit. That's interesting. Wow, so it really ticks all the boxes. If this thing had some kind of interesting interior like a chocolate or some other kind of reddish, brownish awesomeness, then I would just be salivating all over the place. We'll place a bid just for funsies. It's a 987, so I bid $9,870. Man, there are just too many good options. So technically I'm the high bidder on this Cayman S and still on this Focus RS, but neither of those bids are going to last. You know, a $9,000 bid on these cars that are worth $30, it's not going to last. It's so funny because 2 days ago, I literally had a dream that I bought a Focus RS and I was taking it home to replace my Maverick because I thought this is like the perfect dad car. 4 seats, all-wheel drive, manual, turbo. It's a hatchback, so I can still put stuff in it. Like, it does all the things. And then someone listed this car, so I had to put a little bid in on it just for funsies. But can I afford any of them? Of course, I said I was going to be bidding with 100% of my YouTube income so far. Well, 100% of my YouTube income is $857.21. So I'm bidding with more than 10 times my YouTube income. But it's an investment, right? If we get the car, we can make videos with the car, then that makes us money and it helps us to pay for the car. It's like car guy math. If you'd like to help me pay for these cars, then watch one of these videos next and let's earn some money so we can actually win some of these auctions, pay for these cars, and make better videos. All right, thanks. See you guys later. Bye.